everybody, good morning. Another beautiful morning, another opportunity to express ourselves. How lucky are we, right? Today I want to share with you another very important truth. It's day 4 of my 21-day series of sharing the truth. And this one is a really important one because when we don't live the truth of what I'm about to share, it causes great suffering. And actually that applies to all the truths that I'm sharing in this series. I want to bring attention today to our emotions, our emotional body. For hundreds and hundreds of years, possibly millennia, we have been taught to suppress our emotions, or perhaps we have learned to project them onto others or distract ourselves from them. Especially the uncomfortable ones. I'm talking really about the uncomfortable ones. Of course, it's nice to feel the good ones, right? And bring on more of them. But when we are feeling uncomfortable emotions, there's a tendency to sort of rise above it and pretend it's not happening, or brush it under the carpet, or worse, project it onto somebody, right? And I'd like to bring attention to this because actually it's a cause of great suffering. The more we deny our emotions, the more we suppress them, the more we brush them under the carpet or don't act on them, actually the more they're going to try and speak to you. I often liken our emotions to a language. They are like invitations. So the truth really about our emotions, here's the truth today, is that they are invitations for us to take a certain type of action, right? Not to suppress them or deny them or pretend nothing's happening, like we've perhaps grown up to believe, but actually to act on. I know that in this country, particularly in Britain, we are very guilty of brushing our emotions under the carpet. I think in the Victorian age, it was like the era of children should be seen and not heard, and any sort of uncomfortable emotions or loud laughter should be suppressed, and it was all stiff upper lip stuff, right? Unfortunately, that's the cause of a lot of suffering. So let's leave that behind now. That's history, Even I, in my youth, I grew up to suppress my laughter. I was told I laughed too loudly. And, when you know that laughter is actually one of the highest frequencies, it's really kind of sad, right, to think that one might be suppressing one's laughter, right? But in particular for uncomfortable emotions, instead of brushing them under the carpet, instead of projecting them onto another, instead of denying them to ourselves, right? Why not? I'd like to share an invitation with you to see your emotions as an invitation, as something that's calling your attention, right? So perhaps it's fear, perhaps it's a feeling of rejection, all of those feelings, right, that are quite uncomfortable. The first thing to do is to allow yourself to be with them. Can we allow ourselves to be with our emotions? It's not going to kill us. In fact, in a way, not allowing ourselves to be with our emotions can actually cause more damage than it's worth. Because if we don't listen to our emotions, if we don't act on them, they will show up elsewhere, either as stronger, more acute, more painful emotions, more uncomfortable emotions, or it can actually eventually translate into the body. A lot of the causes of our disease, physical, biological disease, has an emotional root, right? We've heard this before. So let's start really paying attention to the emotional body, listening to it like a language speaking to us. So what's your emotional language? What are your emotions telling you today? Perhaps you're having a good day and you're feeling great emotions, in which case enjoy them, amplify them, express them. Perhaps you're not. Perhaps you're having a day where you're feeling a bit meh, a bit like lacking in motivation, a bit flat. So be with that, beloved. Be with that emotion. Like a mother would be with her own child when they're feeling uncomfortable. Just be there, be present with the emotion and breathe into it. Have a beautiful kind of loving, nurturing presence for your emotions, yeah? And eventually what happens when we pay attention to our emotions in this way, instead of amplifying them, they kind of like gently soften. The energy of the emotions soften, and they slowly then are able to move through the body and on their way. And what happens afterwards is you get clarity. Oof, that didn't feel very comfortable. But instead of acting from that emotion, from our pain, which means hurling back anger maybe, or projecting rejection onto somebody, which we often do, and you end up in that horrible kind of ping pong match in your relationships, right, where emotions just fly back and forward and nobody goes anywhere with that except to more suffering, right? So once the emotion has moved on, once you've been able to sit with it, just quietly, gently, observing, soft energy, yeah, and it moves on, then you will have clarity and you'll go, yeah, I need to act on this. And you'll know intuitively how to act on it, right? So the emotional body is like another language that we need to learn, that we need to understand and then act on. They are invitations. Perhaps you can write down somewhere, emotions are invitations, invitations for me to take action. Not in the moment when you're feeling the emotion. I would not suggest that, because it can be the wrong kind of action, because we all know, right, if you respond in anger, then, you know, it's all going to go a bit pear-shaped, right? But to just feel them and then respond, then take clear action in a more centered, peaceful place, right? So today I'd like to share with you an affirmation or a couple, and you can of course make up your own, to help you really feel your emotions. The first one is, I am free of the fear of feeling my emotions. This is a really important affirmation, because actually what stops us from feeling our emotions is a kind of fear. We're frightened of what we're going to find under the carpet, right? So we just keep it brushed under there and the carpet safely on top. We're frightened of feeling our emotions. It's something that's been imbibed in us through culture and indoctrination and just conditioning. But it's a very important aspect of who we are, just as important as our physical body, just as important as our minds, just as important as our spirit. The emotional body is very real. And actually, it's what brings us together. The emotions are signposts showing you the way. The other day, for example, last week, I woke up feeling terribly flat and thinking, oh God, it's all just a big slog, and I had very little motivation. So the first thing I did is I sat with it. I sat with the uncomfortable feelings. And it's not nice to sit with uncomfortable feelings, but it's better to do that than brush them under the carpet, because they're going to come up, and they're going to come up even stronger. So I sat with my lack of motivation and sort of flat feelings, and slowly they lifted, they started to just sift through. I was just very gently present with my emotions and breathing into them, and they moved through me, and I felt better afterwards. And in that feeling afterwards of feeling better, I had an idea, and guess what it was? It was to turn up live for you guys and do my 21-day series of truths, which brought me into a place of excitement. So I went from feeling flat to the absolute opposite, excitement, by simply allowing myself to feel my emotions. So there's an example of how important it is to listen to the emotional body. So just going back to the affirmation is, I am free to feel my emotions. Sorry, repeat. I am free of the fear of feeling my emotions. So first of all, we want to free ourselves of the fear of feeling our emotions. And if you are feeling frightened of feeling your emotions, be with that fear. Become a true nurturer of your own self and your own inner experiences, of your own emotions. Be the best custodian you possibly can be of your emotional body. Listen to it. Feel it. It won't kill you, I promise you. And so you feel that fear, and it'll go, and then you realise, I just felt the fear of feeling my emotions, and I'm still here and I feel fine now. In fact, I feel better, right? So there it is. So there's another affirmation I wrote down. Let me just get my notes. Here it is. I've written it all upside down, so I got to reading around. Yes, okay, so once you have said to yourself, I am free of the fear of feeling my emotions, you can then move into another affirmation along the lines of, I allow myself to feel my emotions. I am allowing myself to feel my emotions now. Or I am open and ready to feel my emotions. Anything along those lines, but especially make it your own. Make it something that resonates with you. Affirmations really need to resonate with you. So just take inspiration from what I'm sharing and make it your own. Maybe write it down and put it on a post-it note here and there around your home to remind you, that you are free of the fear of feeling your emotions. And I promise you that once you start to feel your emotions, you will come into alignment with your emotional body and you'll become best friends and you'll be able to move through life going, I'm feeling that today, so what's it teaching me? What is the lesson for me today? What is my emotional language speaking to me today? And you act on it. Learn from the lesson and act on it. And it'll lighten your load. That emotional baggage, we don't need it anymore. Emotional baggage comes from suppressing our emotions, projecting them, or distracting ourselves from them. So goodbye emotional baggage, and hello feeling our emotions. It's a beautiful experience actually, because it brings you home to yourself, to a really important aspect of yourself. So I'm going to finish off now because we've just gone to 11:12, and I want to wish you an emotional day ahead, fully aware of your emotions, fully feeling your emotions, fully feeling a very important aspect of who you are. It'll bring you closer to you, and that's a really special experience. Bye for now. Love you loads. Have a beautiful emotional day ahead.